Hey there. I decided to make a little video about my apostasy for you guys, and, well, for myself too, I guess. I am no longer a Christian. I am an atheist, meaning I simply have a lack of belief in God or any gods for that matter. If you're wondering what I do believe, though, I would say that I'm sitting quite comfortably in the secular humanist camp. This all might be a shock to many of you who know me well, and I don't blame you. You probably have a lot of questions, so I'll do my best to answer them. I've been an atheist for 8 months now, which means my apostasy occurred 1 month before I graduated from Bible college. Why did I wait so long to put this out in public? Well, I've been in your shoes a few times before, and I know how it feels. It can be sad, worrisome, or painful to hear news like this. And it's hard for me to knowingly cause those feelings in the people I care about. It's really hard. There's never a good time to announce this sort of thing. Just as it has been for many others, losing my faith was not an instantaneous process. It started at the end of one of my classes, a class on the book of Revelation, when we all stood up to pray together and somebody was crying out to God, confessing how unworthy they were of God's goodness. It was a surreal moment where I could picture the room from above in my mind's eye, and it looked ridiculous. I had this simple image of a bunch of grown adults standing there, crying, talking to nothing. After I left the class, someone who was waiting mentioned they could totally feel the Holy Spirit working in there. Why didn't I feel anything? The next month was a difficult month, since I was now in the process of questioning everything. I've had my doubts in the past before, but what did I do with those doubts? How far into them did I look before? This time, I decided to really look into things. I lost a lot of sleep as I tried to balance writing essays and leading a dorm full of guys with countless hours of reading the works of intellectuals, watching videos of debates, and seeking real answers. To be completely honest with you, I was terrified. For nearly a decade, I was an evangelical Protestant who held nothing back. I was at the point where I would have readily been killed for preaching to people who hadn't heard about Christianity. All of a sudden, I could feel my faith slipping through the cracks like sand between my fingers as I desperately tried to hold on to it. I wanted to be a Christian. I wanted to keep believing in God with everything I had. My entire life was built around the one thing that I thought would hold true no matter what. But I couldn't ignore the facts. I couldn't ignore the evidence. I couldn't ignore all the things I had been so ignorant of before. With everything pointing me away from Christianity, I cried out to God. He would show himself to Saul in the Bible without him even asking for it. What would hold him back from helping me merely continue my faith? This was the one time I needed him the most, and my desperate pleas were answered with silence. I waited. There was nothing. Sometime after these prayers, I went to bed with this poem on my mind that I had read. I woke up to an empty room. No more angels watching over me. No more demons to be held at bay by the invocation of an anglicized version, of a Hellenized version of a Hebrew name. I woke up to an empty room. Just a room. 4 walls, ceiling, floor, just a room, nothing more. I woke up to an empty room and embraced the solid air. I woke up to an empty room and knew myself. Awake. So when I opened my eyes the next morning, that's exactly what happened. I looked around my dorm room, took a deep breath, and acknowledged the silence. I truly felt awake. It was like unplugging from the Matrix. A weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was ready to face the world as it truly was. I want to take this moment to ask you a few of the same basic yet difficult questions I had to ask myself in this process. Now, just by me saying that, you may be throwing up some walls right now without realizing it. What thought went through your mind just then? I can't tell you exactly what happens in your head, but be mindful as I bring these questions up. We'll start with a very simple one. What are your thoughts on evolution? And I don't mean this micro, macro business. Like, do you really believe the Earth is 6,000 years old? For some of you, there is no conflict and already acknowledge evolution. But I've seen that there is no reason to have a God in the process. For others, did God murder almost every person and animal on the earth in a worldwide flood? Where's the evidence for it? If you deny evolution, I can easily provide you a number of resources if you would like. If you agree with the likes of Right Comfort or Ken Ham, I would highly recommend you find much better role models. Is the Bible the epitome of morality? Is that how you know something is moral or immoral? Then why does God command genocide? I'm serious. Why does he purposefully and willfully command genocide? Are you okay with that? Were you even aware of this? Why does he condone slavery, the owning of other people as property, and why are you allowed to horribly beat those slaves? Is it good to kill two people solely because they engage in a homosexual act? Is rampant sexism permissible? If you were a woman before Jesus was around, you would be infectiously unclean during your period. If you were certain God was asking you, would you sacrifice your child? What would you do if you saw someone else attempting to do this? Regardless of your opinion on the weight of the Old Testament laws today, God's commands are morally reprehensible and abhorrent. Remember, be mindful of the walls here. Make sure you don't simply dismiss anything just because you don't like what you're hearing. Ask yourself these questions. Does God answer your prayers? Why? Why your prayers? How much does confirmation bias play a part? Why does God refuse to answer the prayers of people, including children, who are starving, being raped, tortured, kidnapped? If you came across a child being raped in their home, behind a building, or in a church, would you stop the rapist? I would. But why won't God? No, really, earnestly think about this one. In what way is allowing someone to be raped the loving, good, moral, just, and congratulatory thing? I would argue that you are far more moral than God in this circumstance because of how you would take action to stop it. Was I ever a Christian? Did I truly have the Holy Spirit inside of me? It was very common in my circle that if someone deconverted, they were never a true Christian. Is that true about me? Do you really believe I wasn't a Christian all those years? Am I going to suffer eternal torture in hell because I don't have faith? Remember, if you disagree, then you'll most likely be labeled as a heretic. Rob Bell basically just sneezed and was instantly condemned. Imagine all 2 billion people who confess to be Christians go to heaven. This, I may add, is a generous number by many Christian standards. Why has God failed so miserably? Because 5 of the 7 billion people on this planet are apparently going to hell. Should people have children, since you know that 5 of 7 of them will in fact be tortured forever and ever and ever? Why is the ratio so skewed? Why did God create a holy text that is easily interpreted in so many different ways? Why make it so hard for people today to understand it or even believe its claims? Why are there no observable miracles today? How come all healing claims look the exact same as other faiths' healing claims? Why is faith seen as a good thing? Why is believing something with no evidence a virtue? How can you so easily dismiss other religions' claims of faith, but turn around and hold yours as being true? I know these questions are tough, but they need to be brought up. At this point, I see there being no evidence to lead me to any belief in any God or spiritual aspect to this world. And this can be hard for you to hear, especially because you might be so absolutely convinced that your faith is true. I was in the same boat. My best friend, who deconverted a little bit before I did, thought I'd be a Christian forever. That it was impossible for me to be convinced otherwise. Previously being at that point myself gives me hope for you. Now, if adequate evidence were presented for a belief, then I would have no problem admitting I was wrong and, well, change my view. Hitchens' razor, though, states that what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. This also holds true for any paranormal or pseudoscientific claim. Whether that is those detoxification cleanses, psychic powers, homeopathy, acupuncture, power bracelets, other alternative medicines, out-of-body experiences, prophetic dreams, ghosts, horoscopes, mind reading, fortune-telling, near-death experiences, and so many other similar things. But the big question in this instance is, does God really exist? Christians have been making this claim, so the burden of proof is on them. And they fail to provide any proof whatsoever. One thing I ask you to do is refrain from attempting to pity me because I'm an atheist. Contrary to what you've been typically told as a Christian, I actually feel immense freedom being an atheist. And I'm so excited in my life right now. Having this one life is incredible. I honestly regret going to Bible college, though. I do love the people I met there, but I have to play a lot of catch-up. I'm far behind where I'd like to be right now, both life and knowledge-wise, and I wish it didn't take me 4 years and over $60,000 to figure this all out. There's so many different paths I could have taken, and I would have been in so many different places and much better places, but I have to work with what I got. But you might still have time. Use the resources available to you. The internet is, in my opinion, one of the main factors in the increasing rate of non-Christians or non-religious people today. Information is no longer hidden. This is the age of information. I became a Christian around the same time YouTube came out. I didn't have the same internet resources back then. And I failed to use the new information properly until now. Had a few conversations with close friends about all this, and they've taken many hours, since there's a lot to the story. Instead of this video being hours long, I'd extend an open invitation to you to discuss these things with me. This can be on a public forum or through private messages in person. Just ask me questions. Challenge me. Ask me what I think about secularism, evolution, gay marriage, homosexuality in general, abortion, demons, ghosts, assisted suicide, alternative medicine, the Bible, other religions, Pascal's wager, sin, sexual purity, pornography, swearing, morality, the historical Jesus, literally anything you want. Just be prepared to be asked questions back. I would like to sincerely apologize to all the people I've hurt in the past due to my zealous faith, especially those that close relationships with. It's funny when you think God and the Bible are the most important things in this world, they simply take precedence over the people that you love and care for. The people right in front of you. Basically the only thing you can actually be certain of. In the end, though, taking the Bible seriously is what made me become an atheist. I just took a step back to figure it all out. We need to have an evidence-based society, one that uses reason and logic, and faith has no place in that. I've provided some valuable resources in the description below, but please don't hesitate to ask for what else I've found if you're interested. If you're praying for me, don't. Why would God have completely ignored my most earnest and desperate prayers in my greatest time of need, only to answer yours instead? Rather, if you truly wish the best for me, take this time to understand my point of view. I ask that you read a single book, one that influenced me significantly, God is Not Great: How Religion Poisons Everything by Christopher Hitchens. I highly recommend the audio version of the book, since Christopher Hitchens himself narrates it. And I share the same sentiment as Richard Dawkins in that Christopher Hitchens was the finest orator of our time. I'd be immensely grateful if you were willing to do that for me. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, to listen to me. It means a lot to me. I honestly appreciate it, and I look forward to talking with you.